Welcome back to TTC. This year, our channel purchased and tested over 350 tools. Since our last time doing a top list over this past year, here are the top products we've tested, according to us, that stood out among the rest in their episode, or in retrospect deserve credit where credit is due, given what we've bought since. You can find more data on these and thousands of others we've tested in our live rankings that get updated every week. Link below. Starting in 9th place, we have the Cobalt 24-volt compact, it's micro really impact wrench. Probably one of the more slept on tools of 2025, because this at 4.27 inches long is shorter than the latest Milwaukee M12 subcompact at 4.5 inches long. Their latest smaller than stubby model. Sure, at 24 volt, it does have that going on and a battery length that comes along with it, sort of unavoidable. M12 is hard to beat there, but this little guy makes 232 foot-pounds, where the new Milwaukee subcompact makes 225 for us. And while the new red subcompact model is still, as of today, $229 bare, while their 550 foot-pound model can be found for $170 to $180. This latest Cobalt, about $99, less than half of that. A lot of people like the idea of this guy, and I'm not one to take away from the usefulness of a small hip shooter, but if that was cool at $229, which is what an M18 high torque used to cost, then this guy that was already out for under $100, it's worth mentioning. Okay, and in 8th place, we have Vice Grips, like the locking pliers. A bit of a return to grace for Vice Grip, if you ask me, as I have some of their sort of recent years past stuff, and it's not great. Sure, if you want to buy the best locking pliers ever made, track down some US Malco Eagle grips, in our opinion, but as far as stuff you can still find in stores online, as far as we can tell, Vice Grip has made a return to the top. They're not the cheapest stuff, but more expensive, even well-known brands from Germany missed the mark in multiple arenas of our testing, so these are worth a look. In 7th place on the year, we have Tableless batteries from the brands willing to put out these new spicy cells this year. Whatever you want to call them, they all have special names for each. But Makita with this new pack, they have a larger one coming out as well. Rigid and Ryobi with their 4 amp hour versions. DeWalt and Milwaukee with multiple sizes ranging from 4 amp hours to 8 and 12 amp hour examples. The standouts for us, based on use and testing them, seem to be 4 amp hour examples that are compact, like this Rigid, and 8 amp hour tabless packs in general. 8 amp hour seems to be the sweet spot, with 2 rows of the 4,000 milliamp hour rated, usually Amp Ace brand tabless cells. This packs a large wallop, and moving to 3 rows for a 12 amp hour pack doesn't seem to bring all that much of a large noticeable difference, just longer runtime. So examples like the 8 amp hour power pack from DeWalt, 8 amp hour Forge, the XGT, basically similar but 40 volt. These give the most bang per size and weight we found. Excited to see more brands adopt these, hopefully Harbor Freight coming up, and the emergence of tabless, smaller 18650s on the horizon. In 6th place, we have the Swench wrench. Listen guys, this isn't just an end of the year buyer's guide, all right? You gotta just list the baddest tools we've seen all year, and if this didn't make the list, I wouldn't have been able to sleep at night. This is a 2,000 foot-pound rated wrench that whacks away as you cycle it like the rowboat of impact wrenches. It's a manual arm-powered impact wrench, bringing tech from the 40s and 50s, but still sold today for a whole lot of money. This example required a little bit of R&R on our part to get it dyno ready and fresh, then made a whole lot of sauce. Most full-size 1-inch Aaron packs we've tested do not make this much, and no cordless 1-inch impact, any cordless impact in general, has made it just shy of 2,000 foot-pounds like this did. No doubt tools like this built a lot of the America we live in decades ago. They were hard for us to get a hold of just because so many of our viewers who had them used them for work, and it built us into big fans of them too. It's just all the torque and all of the cool. All right, in 5th place, another bit of a redemption, if you ask me, the latest M12 die grinder. We were one of the few sources years ago to sort of bag on the original M12 die grinders, being that they're a bit of a dog. Not with a carbide bit in them, sure, but discs, attachments you might use in your traditional air die grinder, they can't run them or run them very long without heat cycling out. That wasn't just opinion though. We measured these in watts or horsepower as Milwaukee did and just didn't get there close to what they were claiming. The Gen 2 M12 die grinder, though bigger in the head for it, does get there with more than 1.5 times the power as we see it, similar to the Chief 1/3 horsepower die grinder, not quite Ryobi 18 volt levels, but smaller, and it released the floodgates of people willing to speak a bit more honestly about those Gen 1 models, able to talk about those pitfalls now that there's a solution in place. It's also what we feel will happen about the M12 right angle impact. It's pretty weak sauce compared to most models out there, even rigid these days. People will rightly call it out for being so, likely when a Gen 2 hopefully comes out sometime soon. But we'll only get there if we're all being honest about these comparable performance levels on a public stage. Sunlight's the best disinfectant, and the Gen 2 M12 die grinder, if we're being optimistic, is in part maybe a result of this, so here's to that. And DeWalt has announced their own, pre-ordered one here, but looks to take a couple months from now for it to debut. Seems like a substantially sized unit. We'll have to see if it brings the beans. In fourth place, we have PB Swiss bits and Grip Edge bit sockets. It took most of last year to be able to test hex bits because testing the tool rather than the hardware simply killing its own threads or head snapping off requires some custom machine work and heat treatment, but it was worth it as these silly things seem to strip out if you look at them too hard when you find them on anything mounted that sees weather. And this did get us a lot of good data across over 100 tests that we did, and the result was PB Swiss and, well, Vera as well on top. They make these noticeably better or less rounding prone than bits from others. And with the cost of a bit set being relatively as low as they are, that's sort of a no-brainer, and I've been using them ever since buying more. When it comes to higher torque stuff, when we're talking impact wrenches, not just impact drivers, Grip Edge, also found under RBRT and other tool truck lines, has a noticeably higher torque level before things hit the fan when you use it as a daily, and can even add 20 to 30 foot-pounds on fully rounded out hexes that were abused by other models first. These do cost noticeably more, so it's the professional choice sort of end of the tool spectrum in our estimation. Okay, in the top three now, in third place, we have oil filter socket like square drive oil filter wrenches. The US made gear wrench strap wrench worked best if that's the sort of access you have, even further surpassing the screwdriver through the center technique we measured. But taking the cake for most torque across the 20 options we purchased and tried was this Work Pro universal wrench and these two Lyle cup style wrenches you can buy based on filter size, small and large. The best part, these were also about the two cheapest options we purchased across 2 episodes, and we just love to see it when that sort of thing aligns. The Work Pro is only $16, works on both large and small filters, a 117 foot-pound average when requesting this tool to remove filters that were never gonna budge in the first place, before crushing or mangling them too far to improve on that. We even used an impact wrench on this, a sight I hope to never see again in real life, without it turning into a twisted up pretzel. This tool, surprising to say the least. And these two USA-made Lyle cups, found in a lot of shops and under a lot of pricier brands for a reason, they just seem to work, taking the top spot overall with a 119 foot-pound average and just $13 to $16 a piece. Rarely do all those things come together at once to equal a winner, and that deserves recognition, which is sort of our job here to do. In second place, we have the MF200 and M18 handheld blowers dusters. Our viewers really like these, probably for the same reason a lot of cordless tools have become very popular over the last decade. New ways to have to not turn on your compressor and let it pump up, or not have to drag your compressor to the job site, or I suppose someday not to have to buy a compressor at all. By purchasing a new scientific pitot tube and doing some math, we were able to measure the upper end of wind speed and CFM from these tools. Most of the time you're not going to be able to do by pegging the meter on most instruments because these are so violent. The MF200 is a nice update on the very popular Wolf box that was selling out last year, and since at this performance level these can eat through batteries, having a swappable magazine battery is pretty cool. I mean, they're currently mid to low 20s in price. We've made a lot of battery packs ourselves on this channel. It would cost me more than that to build one with USB-C in, charge level display, housing, and new cells. If you already have a sort of top 5 duster in our rankings, probably not worth an upgrade, but if you're picking up your first one, this is where I'd go, though we're always buying more to compare. If battery is a major concern because you use it often throughout a day and you maybe already have M18 batteries, Milwaukee's 262 miles per hour as we measure it is head and and shoulders above the rest in that speed, like not an overall air CFM, but in how punchy it is. So if you have wet sawdust, wet dirt, snow you want to move off of something, this is really a good effort, and while larger and more expensive, a high power tool in the category, it's no joke. In first place, put some respect on the name. Yes, we have Hyper Tough from Walmart. Their new high torque in particular in this last year since making our last ranking, though their mid torque is very good as well. Listen, tools ain't cheap these days. We certainly feel it buying all of the ones on this channel. No doubt you do as well if you own tools, but some brands in particular are like the McDonald's of pricing. It feels compounding year over year recently rather than incremental. At least that's the feeling I get. Hyper Tough brushless, their mostly black line, is just a big middle finger to all that. Sure, they're not immune to prices going up over time, but one thing they did this year is make their tool later available bare, and it's just $89.88. And on our ranking is smack dab between a $250 Flex High Torque, their latest, and a $300 Milwaukee Gen 3 High Torque, which is one cordless space removed from the now $399 DeWalt DCF 961. Not because it makes the same power as all of those, but because it makes a lot of torque comparable to an M18 Gen 2 and does so without lying about it, and it makes that at around 1/3 the price. Bonus points are that you can buy a Clutch brand battery with 21700 cells inside and make even more sauce, or even buy that high torque bearer for just under $90 and use a DeWalt adapter to make all of the sauce. Now more comparable to some of the top just in torque, not even considering price, which means they have even more left on the table here if Hyper Tough offers bigger battery 20-volt batteries in the future. The cherry on top of the cake here is we've been using this Hyper Tough as one of our main impacts on vehicles, on the dyno, loosening very tight bolts for almost a year now. Hundreds of uses, and it's still just as strong as day one. Not a single problem with it. Our intel says the latest brushless Hyper Tough stuff is made by the same folks who make Ego, Skill, Flex, and Cobalt, Shervon. So if that's true, we're going to drive home points like this to put some heat on the brands making the long dollar out there when you see comparisons like this one. Then maybe one day cordless tools won't cost as much or more than a big flat screen TV, because they certainly didn't used to be, and the technology these days to make one of these is no longer space age. It's a mature enough sort of thing to start seeing some competition from all sides start to make a difference. We're not mature enough yet, of course, to not have fun with these things from time to time. Appreciate each and every one of you who follow along each week on our rank charts as we update these. We used to see 1, 2, maybe 3 people checking in on these when we log in, but now sometimes it's dozens. It's pretty cool. And you just tuning in, you make all of this possible. Thank you from each of us over here at TTC. I hope you have the chance to spend some time with your families and share what you're appreciative for as well. Thanks as always for watching.